My name is Rusho Kechwi, and welcome to this series on Mindset Kabanga Educator videos for Mathematics Grade 5. Assessment in mathematics is a critical area in your practice as a teacher, and therefore you have to give this area serious attention. Good assessment of learners' performance must be productive for both you and your learners. In mathematics, your knowledge of content as well as knowledge of your learners' levels must always be taken into account. Unless you have a clear understanding of what exactly you are looking for when you do any kind of assessment, you will have wasted your time. Mathematics is not always easy to assess. We want our learners to show us that they are thinking mathematically and show us signs of conceptual development and understanding. No matter what tools or technique you choose to use, you need to be absolutely clear about whether you are assessing procedural skills, conceptual growth, or strategic competence in problem solving. Try to ensure that you have a balance in your assessment throughout the year. Remember, your assessment must always be unbiased, fair, and valid. Assessment must be focused on learners' needs first and foremost. Assessment must be varied and continuous. Methods of assessment cover a wide range: tests, examinations, projects, portfolios, group problem solving involving explanations, and debate. The teacher will be able to assess formatively whether the learners have been able to work mathematically and use their knowledge to generalize a rule for a number of patterns. Different types of questions can be used in order to establish whether the learners are thinking mathematically and can justify what they are saying and doing. Understanding how a rubric can be used effectively as a formative assessment tool. Today in studio with me is Poko Simon Duhul. Welcome, Abut Poko.
Thank you.
Poko is currently a lecturer in the curriculum division of Wits School of Education. And one of the areas he focuses on is assessment. Previously, he taught maths at the intermediate phase at a primary school, and he did that for 6 years. Abut Poko, what are the major purposes of assessment?
Well, there are three main interdependent purposes of assessment. We use assessment for accountability purposes, for selection purposes, and for learning purposes. We have to account to the government and parents for obvious reasons, and we have to account to our learners as well. We have to select learners in order to fulfill that aspect of assessment. Learners have to be selected from one grade to the other, for an example. But most importantly, assessment must benefit the child. Assessment must promote learning. It must enhance learning for the benefit of the child, as I've already mentioned.
And how do these purposes apply to the teachers at the chalk phase?
Well, assessment is about information gathering, and that information must inform the teacher how effective his teaching methods are. That information must inform the learner how he or she is progressing in the classroom. Therefore, both the teacher and the learner must use that information to readjust and correct their teaching and learning methods.
How important is teachers' knowledge of the subject that the teacher will be teaching?
Very important. A teacher must possess a solid, sound knowledge base in order to teach effectively. I cannot imagine a teacher who can get into the classroom and just start teaching without having any idea about what he or she is teaching. That knowledge also assists the teacher to differentiate learning activities or to accommodate various learning abilities in the classroom.
Thank you very much, Abud Parker, for joining me here in studio.
Pleasure.
Let's look at a classroom study and remember to look out for the key points. You have heard how assessment has different purposes. Each purpose is as important as the other. And you, as a teacher, are accountable to your learners, school, parents, and employer. Formative assessment plays a very big role in the South African curriculum and is learner-centered. It is only through formative assessment that we can see if learners are learning or if they are simply following instructions, learning by rote without understanding the mathematical skills and knowledge they are using at any given time. Notice that the teacher has a list of the class in her hand so that as she walks around, she can mark their participation.
Look at the following patterns on the board and then give me the next number. What is the next number on the first pattern, Tishan?
125.
125. How did you get the answer, Tishan?
It's going in 5.
Yes, it is going up in 5. So you say the last number plus 5 all the time. You are adding 5 all the time. Now let's go on to the next pattern. What is the next number? Fatima?
12.
12. That's good. How did you get the answer, Fatima?
We are minusing 3 all the time.
That's good. Now, today, I'm going to give you different challenges that you will do. But before we do that, now what we were doing on the board, we call it number patterns. Now, the reason why we're calling it number patterns, because it follows a certain rule or a certain pattern, which can be described in words and also in numbers. Rule is equals to pattern of the numbers. So we make the rule following the patterns of the numbers. So today you will be doing different challenges involving number patterns. So I'm going to hand out worksheets to you first. So you take one and pass it on. Now, I want you to look at the square chain only. Can you all see the square chain?
Yes.
Now, I also have my square chain. Now, I have labeled mine as 1, 2, 3, and 4. I want you to label yours as well. Look at square number 1. How many lines make square number 1? All of you?
4.
There's 4 lines. Let me go over the lines that make the square. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, if I want to join square number 2 to square number 1, how many lines do I need to draw? Rumana?
3.
3, that's very good. So I will draw line number 1, line number 2, and line number 3. Now, I want to join the third square to the second square. How many lines I will need to draw? Sana?
3.
3 lines again. So this is the first one I will draw, and the second one, and the third one. Now, I want to join the fourth square to the third one. How many lines must I draw, Kayendran?
3.
3. So it's 1, 2, and 3. So when we were joining this square chain, we followed a certain pattern, or we followed a certain rule. Now, we'll start by writing the rule in words. What did we do? Now, we said in the first square, we will say 4 lines. So it's 4 lines from the first square, and then we added how many lines to the second one? 3. So it's 4 plus 3. And how many more lines we added for the third one?
3.
It's plus 3 again. And on the fourth one? 3 again. So this is what we did. So this is a pattern. So what is the pattern? 4 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So we have written out the rule in numbers here, but we can still write this rule in words again. Now, how are we going to write it in words? We will say 4. And then what are we doing? We're adding 3 and 3 and 3. But then when we are writing it like this, then it is long. We can also write it in short. Now let's see how we can write this rule in short. We will say 4 plus. How many 3s did we add? How many 3s did we add? Libby? 3. So we can say 3 times 3. So we have written the rule out in short. Now, if I may ask the last questions, how many lines are there all together in the whole pattern? How many lines all together in that whole pattern? Bianca?
13.
13, that's very good. How did you get the answer, Bianca?
I said 3 times 3 is 9 plus 4 is 13.
That's very good. 3 times 3 is 9. When you add the 4, then you get 13. Now, can you see that we've written the rule in 3 different ways? We wrote it in numbers, and we also wrote it in words, and then we wrote it in short. So you are going to be doing the same thing today when you are doing your next challenge. And I will assess you. I will show you how I'm going to assess your work. Cockroaches are writing here. Everyone is finished now, so for your next challenge, I'm going to hand out a rubric that I'm going to use to assess you, and I will explain how I will assess you. Take one and pass it. Now you will have to write your name and your surname on the paper, on the space provided. This is your next challenge that you will be doing the same way as we did the first one. And then I will be giving you marks according to the rubric. I will first check if you are able to connect terms 1, 2, and 3 from the hexagonal chain. And I will check if you are able to generalize a rule in words, writing the rule in words. And can you write the rule with numbers? And lastly, I will check if you participated meaningfully.
Now you have seen that it is possible to affirmatively assess your learner's progress during class by using a rubric. You can see whether learning is taking place and whether you need to change your approach in order for some or all of them to understand how number patterns are structured in mathematics. When you return their work to them, you need to spend time on the answers and misconceptions that might have arisen. Well, that's all we have time for today. Until next time, from me, Rubrics, goodbye.